Okay, this is lab 6, calculating 1 and 2 variable statistical data. It's on page 178. So I'm going to show you this on a calculator. So make sure you get to that page before you start this. Give us 2 data sets. In order to access these data sets, when you get onto our calculator, go to the home screen, go over here to Stat. If we hit Stat, we can see an edit. So enter on the edit, and then it'll give you 2 lists. If there's anything in those lists, make sure that you clear them out, and we just need to enter the data. We have -5, -3, -2, -1, 0, 2, 3, and 4 in the first list. So everything is entered in right there. Okay. Then the second list gives us another whole set of numbers: -10, -6, -4, -2, 0, 4, 6, and 8. And that gives us that second set of numbers. And you can also check right here. It says list 2, item number 8. So there's 8 in each list. And that's list 1, item number 8. And we can double check and just count them up and make sure that it's the right amount, or just thumb through them like that. Okay, once you get to that point, you want to get off that screen. Second quit gets you out of that. And then we can do some stuff with that information that's in there. So we're going to be able to calculate 1 variable statistics or 2 variable statistics. And you do the same order of operation to get to there. You go Stat, go over to Calc up top, and then we'll do either 1 variable or 2 variable statistics. For the first one, we'll just do 1 variable statistics. We're going to do it for the first list. So press Enter on 1 variable statistics. Select your list by going second, and then hit Stat, which is actually list, written in blue there. Select the list 1, that's the one we're going to do it on. So after we get to there, there's only a few things that you actually need on this. First one is X bar. X bar is average. Okay, that bar over the top tells us that that actually means average up top. So the next part is this Riemann sum of X. This is just the addition of all of those things in the list. You don't really need to know that right now, but it's the sum of everything in the X list. So if we went back to that list, we would see everything there, and we added it up, it would equal 2. On the next line, it says the Riemann sum of X squared. So it's all of those numbers squared and added together. And you're probably asking what that's useful for. It's useful for calculating the standard deviation and variance, which is something we'll use later. And then these 2 numbers here are both a type of standard deviation that we'll get into later. And then as we scroll down, we'll see some more information pop up on our screen. This n equals 8 tells us how many numbers are in our list, and then we start seeing data that will help us build a box and whisker plot. So on this box and whisker plot, you have to plot your minimum, your quartile 1, your quartile 2, which is technically your median, and then your quartile 3, and then put your max, and that'll build your box and whisker plot. So if you want to be able to do that, you need to get that information written down in order to plot those points. Okay, and we can actually build a box and whisker plot off of our graph as well. We just have to go through a few more steps. But before we do that, I'll show you how to do 2 variable statistics. So we can clear all that out. Go back into Stat, go over to 2 variable statistics. And again, if you wanted to do 1 variable statistics on list 2, you just select list 2. But on 2 variable statistics, you take 2 variable statistics, you second list, which is actually that blue writing right there. Then you go list 1, comma, do it again, over to list 2, and blam. It does all that same information. So X bar is still the average of the X's, the sum of the X's, the sum of the X's squared, the standard deviations, number that is in the list. Now Y bar is your second list. We put that in as the second list. So your second list average is -0.5, and the sum of all of them is -4, and the sum of all of them squared is 279. Okay, and then you start seeing your standard deviations again, and then the sum of both of them combined. So the sum of the X's and Y's all added together. We'll get to that right there. Next, the minimum of the X's, the maximum of the X's, the minimum Y, max Y. Okay, so it gives you all that information again. If you want all of it to be able to build that box and whisker plot, you're going to need to go to the individual variable statistics. So, because this doesn't give you your quartile 1, quartile 2 for your X's and your Y's. So doing your individual stuff, you can build your box and whisker off of that information. So I want to remind you that your box and whisker plot will look like a line right here. This will be your minimum, this will be your max, and then there'll be a box, and there it is. So there's your box, these are your whiskers, this is quartile 1, this is your median or quartile 2, and that's your quartile 3. Okay, so all of these are those points represented along the line. So those are those 5 things that they gave you when you did your individual variable statistics. So your minimum, your quartile, your median, your Q3, which is quartile 3, and your max. Oops, forgot an A there. And then your max. So if you wanted to make that on your graph itself, you would get back to your home screen, press second, and then your y equals, which is actually a stat plot. And we'd have to turn this on. So enter into your first stat, turn it on, go to the type of graph you want. We want a box and whisker plot, so we need to go over here to this guy. Tab over to it, and then we want that guy. And we can only do a box and whisker plot off of one list, so we'll select the list that we want. We only want list 1, and leave your frequency as 1 there. Okay, and then you can look at the graph of it. You can go to your graph. Okay, notice that I have this line right here. It's because I also have something plotted in here. I just need to clear that out. Clear it out and go back into my graph. And then I should see it there. If everything seems kind of messed up and you can't see it, you just probably need to adjust your window and hit your minimums as -10s, your maximums as +10s, and your scales of 1. And then it ought to pop up on your screen. It's a pretty good default to see it. Okay. And I just don't really like seeing them on the graphing calculator because it doesn't really help, except for it'll show you, kind of where your median needs to be in your box. But other than that, you can't really tell where it's at. Like if you tried to trace it, you don't get exact numbers, and that's what I don't like about it. So I can get kind of close. See how it gives me these decimals? And that might be right, it might be just slightly off. But that should be all you need. And if you wanted to do this in a different list, you just do the same concept. You go second on the y equals, which is stat plot, hit that first plot, turn it on if it isn't already on, and choose the type you want. We want box and whisker, and we just change our list right here. So we choose our list, let's change it to list 2, and then you just graph it, and it'll change. And there's your box and whisker plot. Now, the reason it's all the way over here on this side is because our smallest number in that second list was a -10. So I might want to adjust my window out to like a -15 minimum or something. And that'll make it to where I can see everything. And I'm not missing any data.